As the ruthless Iran war appears to restart, questions are being raised over whether Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's son could be in heightened danger, with security analysts pointing to increased risks for high-profile family members abroad. Reports suggest that Yair Netanyahu, now using the name Yonatan Hun, has faced such intense scrutiny and backlash over his father's actions that some commentators say he may even feel ashamed to publicly carry the Netanyahu surname during the Iran conflict. Amid rising threats against Benjamin Netanyahu and the wider family brand, the Prime Minister's son has hurried to formalize a new identity, prompting speculation that the move is driven by a desire to shield himself as the Iran war escalates. According to Israeli media, Netanyahu's eldest son has quietly changed his official name to Yonatan Hun, with tax and government documents in recent years reflecting the new identity while retaining the same ID number and address as before. Observers are now asking whether this shift stems primarily from security fears or from an attempt to escape the heavy weight of the family legacy, as Yair Netanyahu's name change unfolds against the backdrop of legal troubles and international criticism facing his father. Western authorities, meanwhile, are closely scrutinizing the use of aliases and alternate identities by relatives of prominent leaders, especially as tighter anti-money laundering rules require greater transparency around cross-border finances and property holdings. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's son Yair has reportedly legally changed his name to Yonatan Hun, a move that has drawn widespread media attention and sparked fresh debate about the family's public image and security concerns. According to Israeli newspaper Haaretz, the legal name change is said to have taken place over roughly the past year and a half, indicating that the process began well before it surfaced in mainstream headlines. Documents from the Israel Tax Authority are reported to show a formal name change recorded under the same national ID number, confirming that the individual now listed as Yonatan Hun is legally the same person previously registered as Yair Netanyahu. Tax filings from December 2024 still listed the Prime Minister's son as Yair Netanyahu, according to these reports, suggesting that the change was completed only after that date and during the subsequent reporting period. By contrast, documents issued this year reportedly list the name Yonatan Hun while retaining the same personal identifiers, such as ID number and address, underscoring that only the legal name, not the underlying identity, was altered. Under Israeli law, an official name change recorded on a national ID card generally cannot be reversed for 7 years, meaning that once Yair adopted the Yonatan Hun identity, he effectively committed to it for a significant period. Reports say Yair Netanyahu is registered as self-employed in the advertising sector, a status that may have influenced how his professional and tax records reflect the shift from the Netanyahu surname to Hun. While living in Florida, he is also said to have registered a company in Connecticut that provides lecture or speaking services, showing that he has tried to build income streams in the United States alongside his media-related activities. Recent social media photographs have led some observers to suggest that the Prime Minister's son underwent cosmetic procedures over the past year, potentially reflecting a broader personal rebranding that coincides with his name change. Even before the legal shift, Yair had already been using the surname Hun in online spaces, at times identifying himself publicly as Yair Hun, which may have served as a soft launch of the new identity before it became official. The surname Hun has family roots, as it was reportedly the original surname of his grandfather Shmuel before he adopted the name Ben Artzi, meaning the choice appears to reconnect with an earlier branch of the family's history rather than invent something entirely new. The reported name change comes at a time when the Netanyahu surname is under mounting political and legal strain, both inside Israel and internationally, leading some analysts to see the move as an effort to distance Yair from the baggage attached to his father's brand. The same report noted that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu himself used the name Ben Netai while in the United States during the 1980s, reflecting an earlier instance in which a member of the family adopted an alternative name abroad. Netanyahu later said he used the name Ben Netai because he wanted an identity that was easier to pronounce and more marketable in an American environment, highlighting the practical considerations behind such adaptations. It is not only the Prime Minister and his eldest son who have experimented with different names. Yair's younger brother Avner Netanyahu also reportedly changed his name some years ago. Avner is said to have adopted the name Avi Siegel while studying in England, creating some distance between his student life and the intense public attention associated with the Netanyahu name. He has been quoted as saying that the name change was made to provide more anonymity and reduce the level of scrutiny and recognition he faced in daily life, especially in academic settings. The report added that high-profile families sometimes use alternative names for security reasons, allowing relatives to travel, live, or work with a lower risk of targeted threats and harassment. Western authorities have grown increasingly cautious about the use of aliases by the relatives of public figures, particularly where such identities intersect with cross-border financial activity and potential legal exposure. Regulators in Western countries have tightened scrutiny of alternative names and shell identities in recent years, driven in part by tougher financial regulations and anti-money laundering rules that demand greater transparency over who ultimately controls assets and companies. Not just Kuwait and Bahrain, Mujtaba is now unleashing missile fury on Jordan as Iran widens its strikes on US bases in the region. Iran says it has struck US positions in Jordan, claiming Muwafaq Salti Air Base was among the key targets hit. A US base hosting F-15s and F-35s has reportedly come under Iranian ballistic missile fire in the latest round of escalation. Fuel tanks and an ammunition dump at Jordan's Prince Hassan Air Base were reportedly set ablaze in Iran's retaliatory barrage. The IRGC claims a critical FPS strategic radar system at Ahmed al-Jabba base has been knocked out of action. Iran says its missiles have struck a Patriot air defense battery at the US base in Ali Salem, Kuwait. The IRGC boasts that a US drone command center was crushed in its strike on American facilities in Bahrain. Iran claims it has hit a helicopter maintenance hub and a P-8 hangar in Bahrain, escalating its message to Washington. IRGC statement said, and I quote, "Heroic nation of Iran, your steadfast steps, 135 days and nights of presence on the stage an unprecedented funeral in history, which you and the noble nation of Iraq have made, have surprised the world, encouraged the fighters of Islam, and confused and terrified the great Satan, and he is taking every measure to compensate for this great defeat. Last night, following the operations of the IRGC Navy in stopping 2 offending ships, which had endangered shipping in the Strait of Hormuz by turning off their systems and moving on an illegal route, the US child-killing army, which was the driver of these illegal and dangerous movements, once again revealed its brutality by invading the coastal bases of the armed forces of the Islamic Republic of Iran. Zealous fighters of Islam, in the first stage of response to these aggressions, set fire to several large rocket warehouses and fuel tanks of Prince Hassan Air Base in Jordan with rockets and drones. The evil and war-loving regime of America, which has spent a few times without war and military evil since its establishment, and has not learned from the recent failures in facing the fighters of Islam, and continues its aggression. In response to these evils, in the second stage of their countermeasures, the IRGC's aerospace fighters smashed the important helicopter maintenance and repair centers, the hangar of the P-8 electronic warfare aircraft, and the command and control center of the American child-killing army drones at the American base in Sheikh Isa, Bahrain. We bring to the attention of the honorable people of Iran, the proud fighters of the IRGC Aerospace Force, in the third stage of the retaliatory operation and response to the aggression of the arrogant and aggressive American regime, completely destroyed the fuel tanks and the Patriot air defense system at the American base in Ali Salem, Kuwait, as well as an FPS strategic radar system at the Ahmed al-Jabba base. Strait of Hormuz is our land, and we will not allow a rebel and child-killing army from the other side of the world to continue its illegal interference in it." Unquote. The IRGC is vowing that its retaliation will continue, warning of more attacks to answer what it calls US aggression. Iran launches a new wave of missiles and drones targeting US military positions across the Middle East, according to Iranian state-linked media. State-linked Iranian outlets report massive retaliatory strikes against US military bases following the latest American attacks. Tehran claims US military bases and naval assets across the region are now under coordinated Iranian attack. Explosions are reported near a US military base in Bahrain, with the Interior Ministry confirming security incidents. Reports claim direct impacts near the US Navy's 5th Fleet headquarters in Bahrain during the latest Iranian operation. Ballistic missiles were reportedly launched from western and central Iran as part of the new wave of attacks. Bahrain activates air raid sirens shortly after Iran launches its latest missile and drone barrage. The Gulf braces for another dangerous escalation as the US-Iran military confrontation continues to intensify. The latest Iranian operation comes after Washington expanded its military strikes across multiple locations inside Iran. US forces expand their military campaign as fresh strikes reportedly hit targets across southern and western Iran. A new wave of attacks is reported across more than a dozen Iranian cities, according to local media reports. Keshem, Bandar Abbas, Bushehr, Avaz, and Abadan are among the locations reportedly targeted in the latest strikes. Iran International said, and I quote, Escan News Telegram channel reported that the latest wave of attacks targeted a wider range of locations across southern and western Iran than previous strikes. According to the report, the targeted areas include Keshem, Sirik, Bandar Abbas, Jask, Bushehr, Kondab, Bandar Mahahar, Baybahan, Andameshk, Desfal, Avaz, Abadan and Khorramshahr. The report could not be independently verified, and neither US nor Iranian authorities have immediately confirmed the full scope of the reported attacks. Unquote. After Iran's retaliatory attacks, the US rejects reports claiming American troops were killed in Kuwait. The latest US strikes appear significantly broader in scope than previous waves of attacks, according to emerging reports.